What is going on top level right now in Haiti? How do we get here?
Well, the bottom line, the most important thing, I think, in terms of assessing all of the factors you're talking about right now is that we have to understand that there is an illegitimate government that is governing the affairs of the Haitian people on the island. In that Ariel Henry, who is the current acting president, prime minister, if you will, was put in power after the assassination of Jovenel Moise without any kind of mandate by the Haitian people, without any kind of terms of expiration or any kind of understanding of when exactly he would put forth the next plan for elections to give some type of actual democratic elected, image to what was going on in terms of the country. There hasn't been an election in Haiti in almost 6 years now. So basically, we have a situation where a country that has a history of being problematically fraught with election questions in terms of the legitimacy of democratic elections in the past is now dealing with a situation where the person who was put in power by the United States to govern the affairs after the assassination of a Haitian president, who we have not seen happen in Haiti for years, a Haitian president be assassinated in such a way, is not trusted by the Haitian people. And what that has caused is that his mandate has been so questionable, is that he is unable to basically galvanize the forces to deal with what is the prevailing issue on the island, which is what people are calling the gangs, which are these individuals. Some call them a paramilitary force. Some of them are actually calling them a revolutionary force for good. There's some people who actually, the documentary being put forth by some who are saying that, that the gangs are some kind of like almost Robin Hood-esque kind of revolutionary force taking reprisals against the Haitian elite. What I can tell you from my contacts with people on the ground, with people, even my own family members, is that there are people being kidnapped by these gang members. That most Haitian people on the ground do not see them as a benevolent force. Do they do some type of social outreach to maintain their legitimacy with people who are poor? There is that does exist. That is happening. But the large scale view amongst people who are living in the areas of Port-au-Prince is that they are a plague to society, who are causing profound amounts of instability. And the most important question that needs to be asked is, who is arming these individuals? How is it that a young kid who is, hasn't even finished school from the City Soleil, projects is able to afford a $5,000, form of weaponry that you couldn't be able to buy in the open market in Haiti in the first place? And what we have to understand is that, from my analysis and from my speculation, there is a correlation between political factions in Haiti, whether they be oligarchs who are using gangs to protect their economic areas of control, or former Haitian political factions who are trying to neutralize the capacity of us having a legitimate election in the country, who are using gang members to basically dissuade the capacity of being able to schedule an election to maintain instability, who are using these gangs as a buttress to either control territory or keep the country unstable. There's some people who are even speculating as to whether or not there may be foreign interference in financing some of these gang actors as well, and helping them actually maintain the charade of chaos in the country, because the chaos in Haiti is always orchestrated by someone.
So there's a lot there. The implication is that there's foreign interference. Let's be specific about it. Are we talking about American interference? Because when we talked last time about the assassination of Moise, several of the men involved were either Haitian American, or there were some Colombian individuals that had these ties to America as well. There was this kind of implication that there was U.S. involvement for these reasons and others. But as far as I understand, the investigation, as it were, into it was basically dropped with no real conclusions.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Well, I think so. I don't think the United States is going to be, who is, based on the Monroe Doctrine concept of being the superpower of record in the Western Hemisphere, if they were involved, we're going to allow an investigation that implicated it in the assassination of a Haitian president. But Ryan Grimm has done some investigation in The Intercept that demonstrates that the United States they had problems with Jovenel Moise. He was not a pliant servant to their whims in terms of how they wanted the country governed, and they publicly stated that they would have had no problem if he was made to be removed in some particular way.
So what was their issue with him? And is the implication that's being made now that the U.S. is supportive of Henry, but the population is not?
Well, that's that's the direct implication, because one of the things that we have to understand is that Henry has been implicated in the assassination
Right.
of Jovenel Moise. That's another thing that a lot of people fail to realize as well, is that you have the guy who is now governing the country, who is one of the individuals people suspect may have been behind the assassination of the president who just died, who he had to replace. So the question becomes, how much is the United States involved in these machinations for them to be aware of the fact that Ariel Henry has definitely had some dirt on his hands relative to the assassination of Moise, and why are they willing to play ball with him if that's the case? Why would they even allow him to be in the position of question? To answer your question as to what was the main conflict and the problem with Jovenel Moise? The problem with Jovenel Moise was that he was unwilling to play ball with the traditional oligarchs on the ground in Haiti. If you are not aware, Haiti, like most countries in the Caribbean, has a kind of buffer class of Syrian, Lebanese, some European oligarchs who control the supermajority of the economy of the country. I would argue over 85, some say 90% of the economy of the country, because they don't have the same kind of historical or racial allegiance to the history of the country. They actually have a very kind of hostile, antagonistic, some would say even racially antagonistic attitude to most of the black majority of the country, who tend to be very, very poor. And they enact a very, very taxing reprisals against the Haitian state for providing goods and services on the state. And they tend to have a very kind of parasitic relationship with the Haitian state. Some have made the argument that there is nothing that's ever going to change in Haiti unless you neutralize the Haitian oligarchy. One of the things that happened after the Haitian earthquake is that the Martelly Moise administration, which is the party called PHTK, Parti Tête Calais, or the party of the bald heads, if you will, because Martelly had a bald head. Don't get me started. But anyway, PHTK, they started to see that they were getting deals to do development in Haiti without having to deal with the traditional oligarchy that was always just kind of ripping the country off. So what happened is that the taste of doing business with foreign actors who were actually from other international, ports of fare, gave them an understanding that, well, listen, we don't have to always deal with these guys to get what we want. You know what I'm saying? We can actually deal with foreign competitors to see what was going on. And what happened is, you want to ask
and the earthquake enabled that?
The earthquake kind of facilitated that because it caused an international flux of capital into rebuilding efforts to actually to develop the country. So what ends up happening is that, due to the fact that there were some problems in terms of the ability of Jovenel Moise to maintain economic stability in the country, largely because of austerity reasons, because oil prices were being sabotaged because of a variety of reasons. There were 3 prior contracts that were given to members of the oligarch class. One was about building the electricity. Another one was about private ports. These people have to come to the point where they control whole ports in the country. And another was the development of a road infrastructure in the country. And again, because the oligarchy had such a monopoly on business, they charged these exorbitant rates. And what Jovenel Moise was realizing was like, listen, I don't want to deal with these people anymore. They always rip us off. The country is poor. They don't care about the economic, condition of the country. Let's see if we can go to foreign actors, international countries like the Turks, like people in other countries that might be willing to do business with us, to try to get development deals like we had under the earthquake and undercut them. At that point, this guy became persona non grata, because now he's messing with their business. And he's messing with their business in a way where you have to realize the Haitian oligarchy has had relationships with the U.S. State Department going back to the early 20th century, going back to the U.S. occupation in Haiti. As a matter of fact, there's a very good paper that you can find that talks about how historically some people speculate that they were put in power by the U.S. State Department in the United States by giving them trade preferences on the island to become an internal buffer class to neutralize the Haitian bourgeoisie. So there's a long-standing relationship between the Haitian oligarchy and the United States. So when Moise was acting in a way who he's looking like he's willing to sabotage this relationship, then people in the United States are like, hold on here, this guy's, he's kind of acting outside of his purview in terms of how far he's willing to go here to administer things in his country. And at a certain point, when he was taking actions against certain particular members of the oligarchical families, he was taken out.
Okay, so since that time, well, let's backtrack a little bit. How then did Henry come to power post-assassination?
Well, he comes to power because he was a member of the administration of Jovenel Moise, and there was a debate whether or not there was going to be another individual named Joseph. I forgot the individual's first name, or Henri. And what happens is that there was a decision that one of the parties resigned after he was initially put in power, and then Ariel Henry was then picked by the United States.
Okay. And at any point, was there a conversation, or is there an ongoing conversation about whether there will be an election?
The assumption was that this is all to be done with the expectation that elections would be put forth in a period of time. But there's been, because the ability of using the gangs as a basically a pretext to avoid doing so, there has been no effort really demonstrated on the ground to orchestrate any kind of real elections.
So the assassination was a little over a year ago. Cut to present.
2021.
Right. Yeah, I remember we were talking last summer. So cut to present. What are we just at a tipping point where the people are specifically angry about the lack of a choice, democratic choice in leadership? Is it related to oil shortages or some other resource shortages in the area? Is it a conflagration of all of these kinds of things? What has led to the unrest that has escalated to the point we're at now?
Well, as with all geopolitical realities, there is a confluence of a variety of things. Obviously, the global resource shortages we're having with oil are causing a large part of the problem as well. The instability caused by the gangs is a large part of the problem as well, without a doubt. The distrust of the actual government, because it was put in by a foreign power that has a rather dubious history with the Haitian people as well, is part of the problem, and the protest of the administration as well. Fear of impending U.S. occupation is now causing people to protest on the ground as well. So also, yes, there is the gang activity is a significant problem, and we have now developed. People are saying development of cholera on the island. There's some cases. I think there's 500 cases. There've been 500 deaths recently of cholera on the island. So all of these things have brought forth a tipping point, and the major factor is the insecurity caused by the gangs, that you hear people constantly fearing kidnapping, reprisals, inability to even get gasoline. All of these things are coming together to make particularly the Port-au-Prince area inhabitable for large numbers of the population.
So you asked this question early on. You kind of asked this rhetorical question: who is funding the gangs? How did the gangs get to the point where they had this much control? And are they a relatively new phenomenon, or are they a longstanding phenomenon that has only gotten stronger in more recent years? And if that's the case, well, why? What's the causality there?
You can make the argument that the phenomenon of having paramilitary forces in Haiti go back to the Tonton Macoute in the Papadoc regime, go back into the 1950s, and that the capacity to take a force of individuals outside of the actual governing factor and use them. This is not that new. Under the Aristide, we had FRAP. We've had a series of gangs being used by the purported Haitian left and right, going back 30, 40, 50 years, being weaponized for political reprisals. Oftentimes, what you find, quite frankly, is that some of these gang individuals were people who were used during elections and campaigns to push candidates. And over periods of time, they became security forces that were used to protect the interests of the same candidates that they actually helped put in power.
Okay. So again, though, this question of where are they getting resources, guns, funding from?
Well, the question becomes who will be in the position to have the money to give them the guns in the first place? In a country that's considered to be, according to what everyone tells you, the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. One thing we know is that the oligarchs definitely are not short of capital. And we also know that for them to be able to actually extract resources for their businesses, they have to have some kind of security in this kind of environment. So it would not be illogical to realize that the oligarchs who have the capital to finance the gangs are giving them the money to buy weaponry to protect their ability to do business and to maintain the instability, because they may not be interested in having an election and have someone challenge their ability to do business.
I see. I'm sorry. This is what was confusing to me, because on some level, if the president is American aligned, the oligarchs are American aligned, and all of these people are in power, what is the rationale for those groups to want to fund and arm a gang presence that's causing all this instability in the country? And it seems like the answer is there's the people who are exerting some significant degree of pressure through their own protests for political change.
You're correct.
Okay. So at what point did tell me a little bit, help me understand what these protests look like on the ground and why they've provoked this kind of response.
Oh, well, they have been very consistent. And, I mean, protests are not something that are rare in Haiti. I mean, we have them pretty regularly when the political machinations of the governments are not responding to the needs of the people. You'll find, tens of thousands of individuals who will come out and protest the inability of the government to meet their needs, particularly when it comes to moments of economic crisis. But the question becomes is that how the West looks at these situations is that they always demonstrate them as being some kind of, oh, that's just Haiti, it's always in perpetual turmoil. Well, no one really understands that Haiti is not a country that's simply in perpetual turmoil. It's a country that's put in perpetual turmoil oftentimes by the machinations of larger powers, particularly countries like the United States, or the core group, which is an association of embassies from foreign powers who have always been kind of antagonistic to Haitian sovereignty, which include France, Canada, and a few others. So we have to also realize is that there are economic interests that are going on. There are things like there are gold reserves in part of Haiti. I mean, Hillary Clinton had a brother who was actually trying to get contracts to do gold deals in Haiti. As a matter of fact, there are resources in the country that people find valuable that they want to protect. And in chaos, oftentimes it's easier to make profit than you want to deal with a government that you have to answer to. So there are many people who have made it a business to make sure that undermining the sovereignty of the Haitian government is part of business to make sure that they can maintain their profit margin and how to do business with the country.
Yeah, it's so right now I was watching a bunch of coverage, and you can tell the kind of the political bent that various people are taking. You watch a Democracy Now! Coverage, and it gives a more sympathetic view to the protesters and the legitimacy of unrest. I was watching an interview from the Brookings Institution that was much more sanguine about the possibility, the necessity, as they even framed it, of U.S. intervention in this moment. And one of the facts that kind of came out that was interesting was the extent to which there was so much distrust of international intervention, in part because of the disastrous fallout from the UN's presence in Haiti post-earthquake, partly because of the cholera epidemic that was started by the UN, and also partly because of these scandals of all of the sexual abuses by UN staff members that occurred in the country. Can you talk a little bit about those moments and how external intervention is being perceived in the context of what is legitimate unrest that's causing a lot of problems? Is there an alternative solution that people are looking to outside of international intervention?
Right. And let's make this clear, because oftentimes when you are someone who is a spokesman for the sovereignty of Haiti, people say it was like, oh, okay, you can talk all that radical stuff, but you don't care what's happening on the ground. I'm very sympathetic to the fact that people are afraid of the security crises that's going on in the country, and they want to have the ability to move with safety and security. I'm very aware of that. But let's look at the track record of what has happened when Haiti has been an occupied country going back to 1915 and the U.S. occupation that went from 1915 to 1934, where you literally had Haitian peasants who were returned to semi-slavery in the corvée system to have wealth extracted from the country. When you had Citibank basically extracting money directly from the coffers of the Haitian financial sector and the Haitian gold reserves that were once used to pay back its indemnity to France. Let's talk about how when MINUSTA was in Haiti during the period of the earthquake, they literally dumped feces into the Artibonite River that caused a cholera epidemic, while soldiers from those encampments were raping young Haitian girls and Haitian women. It's not a pretty picture of what happens in Haiti when foreign powers come in and occupy the country. And what we've also seen is that it doesn't bring any kind of resolution to the endemic ongoing problems of political destabilization that the country has faced going back, I would say, to the rise of to the fall of the Papadonk regime in 1986. The thing that we have to understand about Haiti is that Haiti is a country that has factions of individuals divided by class and economic and material interests that go back to the Haitian Revolution that have not been resolved, largely because the political will of the people gets blunted every time there's an attempt to democratically place a force in power that resolves their challenges to the oppressive lifestyle that they've been placed in for over 200 years. And part of the problem is that Western powers have aligned themselves either for economic reasons or for geostrategic reasons with those forces that have been able to put a cap on the aspirations of the majority of Haitian people in order to maintain what they consider security. And my position is simply is that I'm very sympathetic to the demands people have for security. But what has been the track record in the past?
Hey YouTube, thanks for watching. Just a reminder that this is a podcast. You can catch an extra premium episode every Monday for $5 a month at patreon.com/badfaithpodcast. That's patreon.com/badfaithpodcast for $5 a month, an extra episode every week. Additionally, please do consider liking this video, subscribing to this channel. It helps us out. It helps independent media beat the algorithm. We appreciate you. And as always, keep the faith.